Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go. My guest, Brian Abraham, is an accomplished actor. He's worked across Southern California in film, TV, and all of the theaters, and he is about to take on his third Broadway role. Brian is an incredible acting teacher as well, who's passionate about the process of breaking down a script and rehearsing moments to perfection. But he really shines as the actor embodying the work. I've been lucky enough to act with Brian in a silly short where we were both dogs, and it's hilarious to now get to watch him as he kills it on Broadway. He originated the iconic roles of Hagrid and the Sorting Hat in Broadway's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. He originated the role of the evil cook in Life of Pi, and he's the voice of Richard Parker, where he has to puppeteer a life-size tiger in a fight scene in a boat. Next up, Brian is joining the cast of a modern adaptation of Oedipus on Broadway. Please enjoy my inspiring conversation with my dear friend, Brian Abraham. Okay, Brian Abraham, welcome to Creators Cafe. Cheers.
Hey, cheers to you. There we are. Now we're in the screen.
find your camera. Higher.
There you go.
Yes, love it. Okay, Brian, what are you drinking today? Oh, I like your mug.
Thank you. It's my just regular homebrewed coffee. It's Lavazza is the brand. Usually I drink instant coffee, but my lovely wife surprised me this morning with some fresh whole bean coffee, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I, brewed it up for this occasion to talk to you.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I am drinking an iced latte from my favorite coffee place on Dante, and you have gotten married since I last saw you. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
I got married
incredible.
in June. Yeah. I'm lucky we got married in June, very recently.
In Scotland, right?
In Scotland, yeah. We had a huge, 80-person wedding in a castle in Scotland, which is not as cool as it sounds. And I'm just blown away lucky that it was able to come together. And I mean, it was beautiful. It was like 3 days. We were able to put up everybody we invited were able to stay with us in the castle for 3 nights. And they were fed and they had full drinks for 3 days. I mean, we had activities. We had like Scotch tastings and hiking and clay pigeon shooting. I mean, it was, and yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, it was great.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I went to Scotland a few years ago, and it's just so gorgeous.
It's
Beautiful.
it's the most amazing place I've ever been. And I've been to a lot of places. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but it's just magical, and what I didn't know is the countryside. Like there's so much, it's the outdoors capital of the UK. And, there's so much hiking and skiing and, kayaking, canoeing, and, they're just so outdoors oriented. It's awesome, which I love. I love nature and I love hiking. So we did a lot of that while we were there too. So that was cool.
And they have the rules that like let you kind of wander through fields.
Yeah, there's
there, which is
I forget what it's
it
called.
makes so much sense. Yeah, the open land use or whatever it is.
Or
It's
something like that. Yeah, there's no borders. You can literally go anywhere and camp, if you're on, regardless of whose property it is or whatever, which is wild to us here where we're all get off my lawn kind of people,
Yes. Fun fact, I actually I'm a quarter Scottish many hundreds of years ago. So for Christmas one year, I bought my family those square foot plots of land.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm technically Lady
Orlando.
Jessica Payne of Scotland.
Yes, you
So
are, Lady Payne.
it's possible that you walked over my square foot of land somewhere in
I
Scotland.
didn't have to tell you. If I did, I didn't have to tell you because there's an open land.
No, you're welcome to. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It was beautiful. Your plot of land was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever own in LA, so that might be it.
Yeah, that's the amount of your land wealth. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep, that's what I got.
That's it.
Speaking of LA, you have the
Yeah.
hat. I met you in LA. We
Yes,
were both teaching at AMDA in Hollywood, but you are in New York now,
I am.
about to go into your third Broadway show. Oh
Third
my
Broadway
God.
show. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank
We'll
you.
talk about all of that very soon.
Cool.
Um, but you grew up in LA, original
Yes.
LA native, and got into acting, which is not as surprising for somebody in LA,
Right.
but you really had a love for theater as well as film. So what was that like kind of from the beginning? Were you pulled to film first and then discovered theater, or both simultaneously, or did you start acting at 5 in the school play? What was your backstory?
No, but I was always a theater guy. Theater was my thing. I always loved the theater. It was never a dream. I wasn't to be a movie star or anything. I always wanted to do theater. And mom took me to see a production of Cats in LA at the Schubert in Culver City, which I don't even know if it's there anymore. When I was, 8 or 10 or something, and I just was like, I want to do that. That's so cool. And
That's so
so,
great.
yeah, and she was great at fostering my, you know, my love of theater, and so I saw a bunch of shows. I did the high school plays and played sports at the same time, and was able to make all that work. And then I went to college in North Carolina. I moved to North Carolina from LA for acting at the North Carolina School of the Arts, and studied there and got a BFA there many years ago, and thus began little Brian's journey in the arts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. You're asking me about the beginning, and so I'm trying to focus on what the beginning really was. And it really was. I loved doing theater, and one of the things about LA and Southern California is, for a theater person, it is much more accessible to do, or at least it was 25 years ago when I was there, much more accessible to do, black box theater as an actor, to just do a show, to get friends together and do a show in a cheap theater for free.
Yeah.
There weren't really many rules about getting paid, and there were a lot of little theaters that were producing back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm, again, not familiar with the scene out there now, but I was very lucky because I spent a lot of time in San Diego too. In about 2007-ish, I was in San Diego for a few years, and that had a great black box small theater scene that I was able to
Yeah.
really just do. And the talent was fantastic, and the work was great, and the artists were great, and I was just able to do play after play after play, and really just cut my teeth and work, and I was working for a living, but also doing, plays on the side, and good theater, and so that was really cool. And then in LA, I got my first connection to theater in LA was with the Antias Company, which is
Oh,
a
right.
classical
Okay.
theater company, and I started studying with them, and then became a member there, and was able to do classical theater shows with them. They were a great community, and
Is that the one where I think I've seen a picture of you in the pool for Metamorphoses? Was that there?
no, no,
Okay.
that was at the Ensemble Theater in Santa Barbara, where we
Oh,
did
okay.
Metamorphosis. Yeah, and I was in a pool. Yeah, those pictures are great.
Shirtless and wet
Yeah.
and very dramatic. It was great.
Swagger in a pool. I mean, nothing sexier than that, man. I was living my best life, splashing
Yeah.
around on stage like a badass. It was pretty cool. But that was
Yeah.
my that was how. Okay, so in San Diego, I did a show called Superior Donuts, which was a Tracy
Right.
Letts play, and that
Yeah.
was Tracy Letts's first play after August Osage County, and so I did that. It was my first equity gig, and then a couple months after that, the Geffen Playhouse in in LA was doing the same show, and I got an audition for the same role because the role I was playing was very specific. His name was Kirill Ivankin. He was a Russian, and he only spoke Russian, and he was a very, very large man. And,
if someone's just listening,
yeah. If you're not, yeah.
If someone's just listening, Brian is in fact a very large man.
I'm a very large man. I'm 6'5". Yeah.
6'5". Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. About 250 pounds, and so, and that's a theme in my career of playing large men on stage, for better, for worse.
Whatever gets you in the door, man.
And it's gotten me in some doors, I'll tell you that. And so,
you've had to duck a lot, but
yeah, exactly. Maybe it doesn't get me in doors and bumps. Yeah, you bump your head a lot as a tall guy. Fun fact.
I imagine.
Yeah, fun fact. There's a lot of random cuss words.
What's a normal doorway like?
I don't know, but I know the worst are the ones with stairs. Like if there's a doorway and stairs down into a basement or down into a garage, and it kind of shortens and you have to duck through. I mean, it depends on the house. It depends on the year of the house. I'm blessed here in New York. We have very high doorways.
Nice.
Thin, which sucks, but high. So I don't have to duck. Charlie, my dog, wants to say hi.
Charlie! Yes. Who I know from LA days. So
yeah, you were there when I first got him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have hung out. I miss you, Charlie. You're adorable.
Yeah, I know. Okay, bud. We're working, buddy.
Getting some face kisses. I love it.
He's the real
star. He can hang out as much as he wants.
Okay.
He's a beautiful distraction. So you got the audition at Geffen.
Yeah, I got the audition at Geffen, and then that led to me getting the job. And when I got that job, that was my first major. I was able to get my equity card on that show. And that was around 2011-ish, and that's when I decided I could move back from San Diego back to Los Angeles. And that was, there were some well-known people in that show. Gary Cole was in that show. Eddie Gathegi was in that show, and so it was great. It was an awesome experience. I was like, wow, I'm working at the Geffen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then, yeah, and so. I mean, being a kid from LA, working on those stages where you took high school field trips to see plays and stuff was pretty, I was like, I made it big time,
Yeah.
And then, and then things just kind of kept, I kept, I moved to LA and then kept working. I was working in restaurants for a little bit. And then I remember, and I was doing some more, I was working with the Antias company, taking classes and doing shows with them, and was waiting tables. And I can remember on New Year's, it was a New Year's, I don't remember what year, but I decided to quit waiting tables. I was like, I'm done with this. And I quit waiting tables, and I was doing a Shakespeare play, Love's Labour's Lost, in Los Feliz with Courage Theater Company, just one of those, bunch of people just doing a Shakespeare play. And that's where I met a guy named Anthony Barrow. And Anthony Barrow worked at AMDA, and he was able to connect me with AMDA, and yada, yada. I got a job teaching at AMDA and met the fabulous...
History was made.
History was made. Yeah. And so from there, I just kept, I got an agent and was able to do a lot of equity theater work in LA at the and around LA, the Laguna Playhouse, the Ensemble Theater Company, do Metamorphosis. I did The Odd Couple at Laguna Beach, and just kept doing stuff like that while simultaneously doing my little black box Shakespeare plays because I just loved theater, so I just loved doing it, and I was teaching, so I was working 60 hours a week, commuting teaching classes, driving 90 minutes to do a show at Laguna, driving back that night, another, 2 hours to drive back to teach more classes, to then do, it was the life. And I was grateful I was able to do it then, because it really was working. I thought, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people who have been in New York and Chicago and LA sometimes will negatively disparage the LA theater scene, but I think it's more that it requires what you just did. It requires that level of passion and commitment and willingness to drive the 90 minutes each way. And if you're
Yeah.
in it for that,
Yeah.
it's really there and you can work with some cool people.
Well, what I think is amazing
Different
about
scene.
it, yeah, yeah. What I really am grateful for, and again, I'm not sure what the rules are, the equity rules are out there now. But when I was there, actors weren't, so you could donate your pay. You didn't have to get paid anything to work, which allowed you
Right.
to work. There was a thing called the equity waiver rules, which this company, the Antaeus company, was founded many, 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 many years ago by a lot of really famous working actors, Dakin Matthews, Armin Shimmerman, and the like, and very famous TV actors who wanted to just do theater. So in LA, they were able to put together a theater company for themselves called the Antaeus Company and just do classical theater
Mm-hmm.
and also do their TV and film gigs. And so because of that model, where theaters didn't have to pay their actors much money or anything if they chose, for good or for bad, I'm all for actors pay, but at that time it allows, people like me who were just trying to get their foot in the door and get better and do it to work.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of mixed feelings about that now because I'm a huge advocate for not doing free work and people getting paid for what they're worth and getting money, and the economy and the business and commerce of the arts is very important to me.
Right.
But you talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of friends who are out here and the business is a little slow, right? We know that. And, they're like, I want to do something. I want to work. I miss working. I love acting. I want to work. And my instincts are, I said, well, go do a fucking Shakespeare play. Go pick with your, and you're like, oh, wait, you can't here in New York. You can't, because of the rules and the union rules and, producer rules, you can't just pick up and you and I couldn't do, Romeo and Juliet tomorrow downtown at a warehouse. It's just not possible. So
yeah, it's interesting to see regionally how different contract levels really affect the whole community and what art gets made.
Right. And let me let my dog out of the door. And it makes sense here in New York. Why? Because it's Broadway and it's off Broadway and it's off Broadway, and it's theater is the thing. Theater is commerce and money, and we need to protect that. And in order to protect that, you can't just, because if you had every, famous Broadway actor just going and doing their own shows for free, it would just totally,
erode the market.
Erode the market. Yeah. So you got to protect that and also protect your actors by paying them a lot of money, which is good, or we hope a lot of money, right?
Yeah, we hope a lot of money.
It's up for debate, a lot is all relative to who you are and where you are and what you're doing and what age you are and what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So as you were putting your miles in, bouncing around theaters in Southern California, what were the things that maybe you took from school, from college, and you had excellent training? Where did you, when the rubber meets the road, metaphorically, what training helped you? What kind of things did you throw away or let go of? What did you find about your actual acting style as you kind of developed your own, be it technique or just preferences of how you like to kind of own a role?
It. I think where the rubber meets the road is a great term. I think a lot of times when I got stuck on something, I would lean back on what I look, some of the techniques I learned in school in terms of um, how to break down a text, how to understand what I'm saying, how to understand given circumstances, how to understand what's actually happening in a scene. And when I'd get really stuck, resorting to actions, not emotions, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
So
those
if
kind
somebody doesn't know from the acting world, that's just the idea of instead of like playing that I'm sad, I'm going to focus on the action of trying to get Brian to apologize. And so I'm going to guilt him into apologizing as opposed to wallowing in my sadness.
correct. Yeah,
So
it's the
it's
basic
taking
theory
something
that like
from yourself to the other person.
right, and really right, because the basic theory that we, emotions are a byproduct of something, of
Yeah.
me wanting something from someone and not getting it and trying to figure out how to get it. And
Yeah.
therefore, I will have an emotional reaction. Um, and that the point of it all is not to predetermine what your emotional state is going to be, it's to allow them to be organic and have an organic expression, which because we want to represent something truthful. And I think a lot of times as a young actor and even today, I will immediately attach to what's the emotional tone of the scene. And then I'll get lost in like trying to figure out if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm struggling, and I get stuck because that'll only take you so far. So like when I would really get, I can remember I was doing this show in a small black box in North Hollywood, and there was a moment where I was looking for something, and I can't remember what I was looking for. I want to say I was looking for, I'd lost a picture of my wife was pregnant, and we had a picture of the baby, the sonogram, and I had lost it, and it was a very like frantic. I was supposed to frantically search through the drawers and tear up the whole house looking for this thing, and I'm always very afraid of like really big things, big actions, big emotions. I'm just scared because this just seems so overwhelming. How do you even approach that? And I can remember what I tried to do was I thought back to my training and I did something, the substitution. Like, so I pretended like I was looking for my wallet. I lost my wallet and I was looking for my wallet, right?
Yeah.
And 'cause I understand what that feeling's like. I understand
Yep.
what that would lead me to do. And, so I just like in the rehearsing of it or whenever I felt disconnected would just think about, okay, you're looking for your wallet, go. And
Right.
doing that a few times let my body kinesthetically attach itself to understanding emotionally and physically what's happening energetically.
Yeah.
And I was able to weave that with the given circumstances of what I was actually looking for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what's good about that is then like you might feel a little frantic, but you're not gonna like you don't want to lead with frantic for the audience, right? It's like if it's lost, what you're doing is finding the thing.
You're finding
And
the thing,
you're
right?
trying to it's like you're trying to overcome the frantic or like push it away enough to just find the thing. And
Correct. Right.
so
Exactly.
it kind of
Exactly.
it kind of like the like if the script says crying, if I just try to produce tears, it's going to feel fake. But if I try to like get past the tears to the thing I actually want, the tears might come and they might not, but it's going to feel very connected and real.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. Yeah. It's that old phrase that people say, nobody tries to cry, they try not to cry. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You know.
You're like you come from a very intellectual place when you're looking at a script and when you're talking about a text, you can really play ball at a high level.
Mhm.
Um, And yet, when I watch you as an actor, what I really appreciate is your physical confidence and ease in a role, that it just feels very natural and grounded. Is there something that, in addition to what we've talked about, helps you with that? Or is it just like having done it, having played sports, being comfy in your body, doing dozens and dozens and dozens of different plays in front of thousands of people, or what do you think helps you to be so confident physically and grounded?
I think yes to all of that.
Hmm.
I think there's a little bit of everything. I think, quite frankly, it's having done a lot of it,
Yeah.
makes me allows me to just feel less more comfortable. Um,
Hmm.
it's just experience, but I also think, I think it's casting. I think if you're
Oh,
casting the right,
actually, yeah.
if you're
That,
casting the right part and if it's you're cast correctly, you should be able to, you'll feel more comfortable in it, and it'll feel
yeah.
so you'll be able to. I'm able to be a little bit more grounded, because there's certainly times when I haven't felt comfortable in a space, and I
Yeah.
and when you were talking, I was and no, those times I think it's possibly when I was doing something I was uncomfortable doing, and I was, not that I couldn't do it or my version of it, miscast. Also,
Yeah.
for me, I'm very obsessive, and I love the work. So
Hmm.
I will work very hard. And so when you see the performances, or what you're not seeing is the hours I've spent, in the rehearsal room, really, really trying to find and carve out every moment and personalize every moment, um, to what is the most exciting for the audience, and how I can find myself in those moments. But also,
Hmm.
like, away from the rehearsal room, where I'm in my apartment, I'm walking to rehearsal, I'm in the shower, and I'm just, running my lines and playing the scene over and over and over again, trying to find new things, be connected to it, understand what's actually happening, what I want, um,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you're getting the confidence from the time, but also the work and the attention.
And the intention, I think
Sure.
that's the truth, is the confidence and being connected and grounded to something comes from really knowing it, right?
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
really knowing it, knowing who I
Yeah.
am, knowing what would happen if this scene didn't happen, knowing what would happen if this person doesn't respond the way they respond, knowing where I would go if I wasn't playing this scene, knowing where I would go if this scene ended right, midstream, what that would be like. Um,
Yeah.
I think all of that plays into feeling more connected to a person. Um,
Yeah.
did that answer your question? I feel like there's something there.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
A better answer here, but I don't know what it.
No, I think that's great, and it makes me kind of realize that that confidence and that groundedness and that preparedness that you were bringing to a 99 seat theater in North Hollywood, where I saw you do a beautiful production, is the same thing that I saw a couple years later when you did Zoot Suit, is the same thing I
Yeah,
saw when you had your first Broadway role. And I'm just seeing you do the same thing, and the stages are bigger, but your commitment is the same, and your drive and your passion and your work put into the role is the same. And I think sometimes people focus on trying to get the end result, but it's really, I think, your commitment to whatever the process is at any size that is actually what got you where you are.
that's thank you. That's nice to hear. Because I really have always been a process guy. I enjoy the
Yeah.
rehearsal,
Yeah.
uh, more than the performance. And
Huh.
if I could stay in a rehearsal room all day, like that's like my heaven,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rehearsal. If it's a good rehearsal room, there's, obviously
Fair. That's so
times.
funny because Kyle is actually exactly the same way, and he really loves theater and loves the rehearsal and loves the practice and the doing of it,
Right.
which I think also makes him a really good fit for personal training and being at the gym. Like he likes getting the reps in,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit more. I'm not anti-practice. I just find like it's the performance, it's the in the moment that like really lights me up.
What is it?
And
What is it about that? What the difference for you that you love? Is it just the in the moment? Is it because I'm
I
genuinely curious.
Yeah, I think it's that it helps me to be very present, and repetitiveness, like some people are really good at refining things, and I think I'm really good at creating things. And so being in a place where what's rewarded and what's valued is the like coming up with, it might be messy, but you came up with something, versus like let's do it 100 times and make it the best in the world. I think I'm better at the like messy but right now and present, and I'm finding ways to like try to both get better at the at the refining side of things, but also find places where the like let's just go for it is a better fit, honestly. And
That's
I think
great.
that's why I veered a little bit more towards film and TV, because there's less repetition and
Dude,
more like let's go. You gotta go.
yeah,
And I
that's
think
those are two very different mediums, right? Theater and film
yeah.
and TV. And when you really study film and TV, coming from having really studied theater, it's very different. Um,
Yeah, it's always interesting to me to like talk with people, because like I have more of a theater background, that's kind of what I did forever, and so it's cool to realize like, oh, actually I might actually belong more in the film and TV
yeah,
world.
the way you
Um,
described it, that sounds more like a rehearsal to me. The messiness and the
that's
maybe.
true. I like a process that gives me like, I want to know that I've got 3 takes, so it's okay if I mess it up, but I've got a couple of swings at it. I think
Yeah,
something like that is perfect.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just finding ways where that's
Yeah,
it.
I think what I've learned from, there is no performance when it comes to on-camera work. There's no final
Yeah.
product, right? It's all
Yeah.
just like you're just doing the thing and figuring it out in the moment. Um,
I find I have more anxiety whenever I'm doing things more, which is opposite to most people. Like you do it more and you get more comfortable, but as I do it more, like I was in tours that had hundreds of performances, and by
yeah.
performance 400, I'm like, did I already do this scene today?
Oh,
Where
dude.
am I? What happened? And I kind of panic in a way that I never do with with the first kind of thing. The first 10 performances, I'm not going to have that.
Well, that's. I mean, something crazy. You know that because you've done hundreds of performances. But when you're in long running shows, I did Harry Potter for almost 3 years, and that your brain does crazy shit. Like when you're like doing the
Crazy
same
things.
thing over and over again, and like how do you, and like all of the like how do I refine what I'm doing to still do the
Yeah.
same thing that
Yeah.
deliver the same scene and play we rehearsed, but also keep it fresh and real and for the first time, you know,
Yeah.
and how to find and that is a real challenge, you know.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a real skill. What did you find in that particular show? What helped you anchor in?
Um,
And to give people context, actually, let me
yeah,
let
okay.
me
Yeah,
let me
let's go
kind
back.
of
Yeah.
back up for 1 second. So, not only have you been on Broadway, but you originated the role of Hagrid and the Sorting Hat in Cursed Child, the Harry Potter story on
Yeah.
Broadway. And and I saw it and it was fantastic and you did great.
And you were an integral part to this because
Maybe.
you were talking before I got a call back for the show. We were in LA and I got a call back um and it was for the Sorting Hat and for Hagrid, and I hadn't paid any attention to the Sorting Hat, and had no idea what that was supposed to be. I just read Hagrid, and Jessica was like, "I think you should take a look at what the Sorting Hat's supposed to do," and I was like, No, they didn't ask me to, so I'm not going to pay attention to that. And she was like, I bet they're going to ask you to in the room. Why don't you read it a little bit? So she handed me her personal copy of the book, the script. And I read it and I understood the part a lot more. So when I got to the callback, they absolutely had me reading The Sorting Hat. And I was absolutely grateful that Jessica had given me the script. Yeah, it was.
I was so delighted. It was just funny because it's like that combo of like you're like, oh, I know my friend is so good at preparing, but also might not realize that like this one step could definitely change things.
Well, what was interesting about that project was like here I was in LA, teaching acting and doing regional theater. And to get a callback for a Broadway show on my first Broadway audition, but also have it be Hagrid in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, it was such a big deal that like there was almost like I had a lot of like there was no tension in me. I was like, whatever.
It's like such a big jump that you assume it's not going to happen, and so you don't have any resistance.
And like I assume, like this is I'm just here to dick around, whatever. There's no way this works out. Like, it's like if Martin Scorsese, like I show up to set and Scorsese calls me, we want you to play. It's like, okay, whatever, man. It's like you're not, this isn't real. This isn't going to happen, And so. And I think that kind of like naivete carried me throughout all the way up until opening night, where I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here.
I know why you're there, but I understand that it feels like so wild.
Yeah.
The role was really cool because you also got to do a lot of the special effects live.
A lot of tricks and magic,
there was you were literally doing magic on stage, and so you were just like the kind of wove, and you were the interstitial kind of special thing that pulled the story together.
The sort of like narrator. Mm-hmm.
So what was your, I don't know, what was cool about that experience for you, other than like it's very fancy, it sounds fancy, it was fancy, you were great at it, there's a lot of like do blow the little trumpet, but from a personal side, like what was satisfying to do it?
What was satisfying was I loved the movement. I loved the magic. I loved the stylized movement, moving through the space on stage. I loved, it was a lot of like working with a 40-person ensemble to create stage. It wasn't dance, but it was stylized movement. Set to music, set to lights, set to set pieces, and everything was choreographed, and it would all come together at certain moments, and one moment would hit, and then you'd move on to the next, and the next moment would hit another picture, another magic trick. And to be part of an ensemble building something and felt really cool. And because it felt really cool when these magical moments hit, and the pyrotechnics would go off and the lights would shift and you'd be there in the spotlight, and then you'd move and hit another light, and do another trick and do another. It was very cool. And so I felt that was very fun to do and very satisfying. It was very satisfying. That whole show was very satisfying to play. I was grateful for my tracks. Both my tracks, Sorting Hat and Hagrid, were very satisfying. I had wonderful moments, and it was just a gift to get to do that every night.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So, and then just with the world, you had the best of times and then the worst of times, because you're about to go into your third contract for that, and then COVID happened.
COVID happened.
And Broadway shuts down, so you're out of your job for 2 years, and then everything changes, right? And so when the show was brought back, the show itself was just condensed, and so there was a rewrite. Your part wasn't in there anymore, so it's best of times, worst of times. Like, that's, first of all, gutting. I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah.
And then, you can talk about that if you want to, or like what I think we all had some kind of dark night of the soul as artists
Yeah,
sometime in the last 5 years. If we haven't had more, we've had at least one.
right.
So whether it was that or coming out of that into Life of Pi, what was that kind of transition like for you?
Um, Difficult. It was a
Yeah.
long several years of really trying to figure out what I mean, but I think I wasn't alone. I mean, the whole world was really trying. We were all changing. We all were
Yeah.
confronted with a new life, a new way of living, and we all had many things taken from us. Some people even had people taken from them, and a lot of us lost a lot of money. So, I certainly wasn't unique in my in my experience. So I just want to say that but I will just my personal experience was, it was rough. It was rough to lose my job on Broadway, and it was rough to be able to hear that they changed the show and condensed it into, but it's business. And quite frankly, I think they made the right choice. They condensed it from two parts to one part, and that I think made a lot of sense for the life of the show. So I understood why they did it. And I certainly don't begrudge the business, them doing it. It makes total sense. And the producers were fantastic in supporting me, and the conversations we had, they really took care of me. And in fact, the producer, Sonia Friedman, is also the producer of Oedipus, which is the show I'm starting rehearsals on in a couple weeks. It was the same casting team, Jim Carnahan as Harry Potter. So, it's a few years later, like my life is new, so that was nice. It's nice to still have the same people in your life and the business context.
Yeah, it is really lovely whenever people that you've enjoyed working with, you get to like reconnect in some way
Yeah,
and
and come back to
come
them,
back.
be trusted with their material again is really,
Yeah.
really awesome. It was, there was a lot of like self-reflection and introspection, and my love for acting, my passion, my why am I doing this? A lot of those thoughts were going through my head, and a lot of just trying to figure out, do I enjoy acting anymore? Or am I just trying to do this for a living? The realization that I don't know if I can do this for a living anymore, if the world will allow me to do it for a living. I think the biggest thing that I really have come to accept from all of that, or at least try to accept from all of the last couple of years, is that it is not up to me. My career is not in my control, and that I think is the hardest thing for an artist of any kind, who is trying to make a living off of this stuff, because I think that's something I took for granted. I think I took it for granted that I could make a consistent living off of acting just because I've done it for so many years. And I think when it all goes away, and I'm certainly not unique. I mean, thousands and thousands of people all over the world and all over the country have experienced, a change in their income levels from COVID and from strikes and stuff. So I think that for me as an artist is the biggest thing I've come to I'm struggling with, is that I have very little control, and then what can I control, right? What is in my control? Where am I able to find the work? And do I want to find the work? What is it I like about the work? Am I, how do you feel about this stuff?
I think I've decided that any kind of like I am going to be a creator and an actor and a singer and that's just gonna like if you squeeze me, that comes out of me. Like that's gonna be true
Yeah,
whether I'm paid for it or not, no matter what. And I think I have a certain peace with that now
I've
that I
seen
maybe
that.
didn't have before.
I've seen you do that. I've seen this transition with not transition. I've seen you embrace that and really own that, and it's admirable.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah, I
that's
think I mean, I think for me, I attach too much weight to the identity of doing it professionally and getting paid for it. And like, I've had times where I'm just acting for my living, and I've had times where I'm teaching acting for my living, and I've had times where I'm doing all of the things, and it's the most satisfying ever, and I'm losing money because of it. And I
right.
realized that those weren't necessarily like they didn't track in parallel. And so if that's true, then for me, I just need to like have a way to create that is like sustainable for my life. And I think sometimes I let like the idea of being an actor be a little bit of a like toxic relationship. And I realized like I have wonderful relationships with the people in my life. And
Yeah,
so I've just decided I needed to step back and find ways to do that with myself as an artist.
yeah,
Of
yeah.
like I can't be the one putting 90% into this. This needs to be good for both of us.
Yes, I have a very toxic relationship with my professional acting self as well, and
Yeah.
and I think you've just pinged something in me. It's the I'm learning that what being an actor or artist means is I have to find ways to sustain myself in many ways,
Yeah.
just through my acting. That I have to do other jobs to pay the bills. And that doesn't mean I am not an actor. It means I am an actor. It means that's what actors do. That's
Yeah.
all we have to do.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
sustain ourselves any way we can so we can survive, so then we can practice our art when the time and place comes. And I think
Yeah.
that's, you know, what's so noble about us is our sustainability, our resilience, our
Yeah.
intuitiveness, and a hope. There's always a hope that because there's always something new coming, right? And
Yeah,
just as
definitely.
much as something will always end, something will
Yeah.
always begin.
I think that's it too for me is like I have realized that, if I'm like looking at these are the paths that I thought I was going to take and would be the most satisfying, it's for me like kind of coming back to like, but what do I really care about? I care about that like kind of connection between people, and I get that with the podcast, that like deep connection and talking about art and real things that I care about. And then there's something about the like magic and like transcendent nature of it. And like that I can find in other ways as well. And just because I'm commercially successful at the moment, I don't always have the connection and the transcendence that I actually value more. And so, like, I'd love to have it all. I'd love to, that would be great.
Right.
But like,
It's a very
uh,
bizarre thing. Yeah.
yeah,
You can be at the height of your career commercially and income wise, and
yeah,
yet the work not be fulfilling or enjoyable or why we signed up for it, and feel very
right.
resentful for it. Like if you're,
Yeah,
um, and yet you can also at the same time be doing, playing King Lear or Lady Macbeth in a closet and in the middle of Iowa and be like, this is the most amazing experience ever,
the best.
but I can't
Yeah,
pay my rent and I can't pay my bills and feel very resentful
yeah,
at it, right? So it's just like
yeah,
constant weird struggle between like, what is this career? Who am I in relationship to this career? What is my
yeah,
relationship to this thing? You know?
yeah.
That I
And
just
I,
don't.
I I like in the way that I think you are very drawn to the uh, theater and the practice and the rehearsal and there's a little bit of like tradition, a little bit of ritual, and a little bit of
Yeah,
like I don't a sacredness in that. I think for me, I get it from the newness. So I'm as excited to explore like a new format or something I haven't tried before, or working with new people. And like for me, that's where the like big pull is sometimes.
Imagine.
So I think it's just like there's probably just a maturity of figuring out like I am clearly drawn to this. Like, I always hated that people were like, well, if you can do anything other than act, do that. I get it why people say that.
Right.
I have tried. And like it always pulls me back. But I'm also trying to navigate like I feel the pull, but why do I actually care? And how can I match up with things that like match up with the pull, not just the format of what somebody else calls being an actor.
That's great. Yeah. See, that's really awesome and very respectable. I mean, that's how, we have to survive, right? We have to,
Yeah.
otherwise we'll quit or do something else. And,
Yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with doing something else. It's,
Yeah.
perfectly reasonable. It's just, we're not ready to, or you're not ready to, you're honoring the pull,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
And I think what's tricky is figuring out how to like honor the pull while you're living a good life that feels good.
While you're living a good life that feels good, that's true to yourself. And also, understanding that if I'm doing something else, that doesn't mean the acting thing isn't happening. If I am,
Yeah.
waiting tables or working in an office for a living, or if I'm, working in a theater, or if I'm going back to school, whatever it is I'm trying to do to better myself and to pay my
Yeah.
bills, take care of myself, that those aren't negatives or bad things, and I think a lot of times we feel shame, or I feel shame around, if I'm not working constantly as an actor, but that's part of
I
it,
get it.
you know.
One thing I always have appreciated about you is I always feel like I can have real conversations with you, like as a human and as an artist, and like
Mm,
the big and the transcendent and the like minute and ridiculous. But
yeah,
also you're like very open-minded to like this is working, this isn't working. What can we do to make this better? I appreciate that about you.
thanks. I've always, yeah, thank you. I hope that we haven't gotten too too morose on the podcast, but
We're
uh,
real. If
yeah,
anybody's listening 50 minutes in, like
yeah,
what you're welcome.
you're keeping it real. No,
Yeah.
I'm, one of the things I really, one of my values is authenticity, and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and this is hard. What we do is hard. It's not easy. It's hard when you're working. It's hard when you're not working, and how do I create a life around this lifestyle and this career is hard. And so I think being able to share honestly about that is totally uh, the responsible way to deal with this profession, because I feel we get inundated with facades and bullshit all the time, and I just don't, and then I think that just does a disservice to who we are as artists. We're full human beings. We're not just like skating through life, and that, because the depth of our work comes from our struggles, right? It makes us interesting. It makes us, your journey with embracing your creator and dealing with your values, and how do you focus your whole, has created this platform for people to talk, so your honesty is facilitating the conversation. So that's the only way we can go forward, is by being honest, I think.
I agree. And I think the art that moves me is never the shiny, perfect, polished art.
No,
The
right,
art that moves
right,
me is the raw. It can
right.
be vulnerable, but it just needs to be real.
Just be real. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. Brian Abraham, just be
Done.
real.
Done.
Thanks
Easy.
for the title.
Solved everything.
Just be real.
Just be real.
So I want to talk about Life of Pi, where you got to play the villain, and it's of course about a boy in a boat with a tiger, and so the tiger is actually a puppet that's done with live puppetry, and so you got to be part of that process, and it is one of the most visually stunning ensemble shows I've ever seen.
That's great.
It's so beautiful and impactful. What was that process like? You got to do such cool stuff,
Yeah,
and you got to reveal you're a big, powerful dude.
Yeah.
You're strong, you're tall, you're passionate. And we got to see kind of the dangerous underbelly that you have, that because you're so sweet, you don't usually get to kind of turn that knob. And it was fun to get to see you unleash it. What was playing that role like?
It was awesome. I loved it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, hands down. The most challenging, mainly the puppeteering aspect. There was a huge sequence where I puppeteered the tiger. It's with 4 puppeteers. It's a full-sized tiger. And I was puppeteering the head with 3 other people, puppeteering the body. And I was speaking through the head while we were moving around this boat in this very elaborate sequence that ended up in a fight scene. And it was just, you get to the rehearsal room and you're like, I can't believe they cast me to do this, because it is difficult physically and emotionally and vocally, to coordinate all of that. But it was so fun and rewarding. And I just, that was the biggest challenge, was the puppeteering aspect of the character.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the other performers who were puppeteering didn't have to talk and
correct.
were puppeteers.
It was the first time the tiger, and the only time the tiger comes to life and becomes humanized and starts talking, because the kid's on the boat and he's hallucinating. He's having a conversation with the tiger. So the tiger comes alive, but he thinks he's talking to the tiger, but it's really the cook, me, the bad guy. So for purposes of theatricality, I'm puppeteering the tiger until I reveal it's really me, and then I try to kill and eat the poor boy.
So you're doing a job that no one else has to do. No one else is expected to. Everyone else either talks or puppeteers, and you're doing the climax of this battle, and you're the antagonist coming through while puppeteering on a boat.
Correct. And it was very, very difficult. And it was something I really worked my ass off at, and really, cared about and wanted to make a great sequence to make it scary and entertaining. The role was very challenging in the sense that, like you said, the scariness, it was to find because it wasn't very much backstory. It was very in your face and very quick. These scenes were written as little small vignettes. So you really had to get all of your character and story in very quickly and dramatically. It was a very heightened piece, so nothing was very casual. So it was not just casual meanness. It was very mean, very aggressive, very quickly in like a 45-second hit to establish a character. And it was very important to me that it was actually scary, right? It was important to me that my character was actually scary, not just a cartoon villain, which I felt was very easy to fall into with this text and the style of the play, it being with puppeteers, being very visually dramatic. It would be very easy to fall into, playing a cartoon villain, which, in a sense he was, but I really wanted to play as much of him as real as possible. And so I'm glad to hear it was effective, because that was my what I was really striving for on that.
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, nailed it. Way to go.
Cool. Wow, we're talking here. All right.
Nailed it. Okay, and now you're going into Oedipus. Fun fact, in my grad school black box theater in Western Illinois.
That's amazing.
Speaking of like the satisfying artistic experiences that you have that are maybe not the most commercial. Right. I was in a really cool production of Oedipus where I was both Jocasta and Tiresias, and we did it like with the full mask and like with the Greek chorus and in the round, and it was just one of the most incredible theatrical experiences I've had. I loved it so much. So I'm excited to see your version. So what is the deal? What are you doing, and what's going on?
This is a brand new adaptation. It's being transferred from London, written by Robert Icke, and it stars Mark Strong, and it's a very it's a modern adaptation of Oedipus. The Oedipus story, it takes place in like the span of one night, and it's contemporary. It's modern. I think I've said that 3 times now. I am. The reason why I'm fumbling is because.
But is it now?
It's now. No, I think it's now. The reason I'm fumbling in to full transparency is I haven't joined the rehearsal room yet, so I'm really like working off of just having read the script. So I'm assuming it's Oedipus is running for election as some sort of president in this piece, and it's right in the night, and then Tiresias comes and he's searching for the killer of his father, of Laius, and he finds out, through Tiresias's prophecies that maybe there's more to it, that he is the killer of his father, of Laius, and yada yada tragedy unfolds. I'm understudying 3 roles in this play, and part of the ensemble.
Oh, cool.
I'm understudying Tiresias and these other gentlemen, Corin, and this other gentleman, the driver, who was witness to the night of Laius' death. So, and I'm part of the ensemble. And the reason I haven't started rehearsals is we jump into, they're rehearsing in London right now, and once they get to Tech in a week from today, I join the cast. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's one of those where they're putting the thing together, and I'm just being thrown into a moving train.
That is exciting. Yikes.
Exciting. So I'm working on getting off book and just learning, my lines right now.
Well, I'll give you all of my Tiresias recommendations.
Thank you.
And notes.
I need it. I need all the help I can get, because I obviously don't know much about the play. And
I hear it's now. I hear it's set contemporary.
Perhaps modern, perhaps contemporary.
I mean, you'll find out in a week. That's the joy of being an understudy.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's actually the script is pretty freaking great. It is.
Cool.
If you don't know the story of Oedipus, it's about a guy who's about to be king and finds out he was searching for the killer of the old king, who's Laius, and he finds out he was the killer of the king, and he also slept with his mother. So the prophecy is you killed your father and are your mother's lover. And by the end of the play, we realize his mother is his wife, who's in the whole play as like the soon-to-be first lady. And, as extremely, unbelievable as those circumstances are, this play does an amazing job at making them believable. Making it real. And it's going to pack a huge punch, because just reading the script, I was like, this is going to be freaking great. So it's got fantastic actors, so it should be a phenomenal play. So I'm just very curious to see how I can support it. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, that's all I got on that.
Yeah. I was just laughing because I was thinking, like, most of the time you don't want to give away the ending, but I think it can't be a spoiler alert if it's thousands of years old and
thousands of years ago. Right. Everyone's going to be surprised by it because nobody knows the play Oedipus. And I'm like, what? How do you not know Oedipus and Oedipus complex and all the...
Right. You know the jokes, even if you don't know the play.
Right. Like, who doesn't? Yeah. But people don't. And I guess, why should they? For fuck's sake, why should they? There's a lot going on in the world. Why do they need to know about a thousands-of-year-old play? Who cares?
Well, they will now.
Yeah, now they will. Yeah.
Okay, so Creators Challenge. What can my audience do to help them create something from nothing with whatever they got?
Personalization is huge and important to me. I hope the task is to find a monologue or a scene. It can be from anything. If you're not an actor, if you are an actor, I'm sure you have access to it. And play the scene, write the monologue in your own words, how you would say it. And it's to, and then learn it and play the scene as much as you can. Hopefully, maybe it's a monologue, so you don't need anybody's help. But if it is a scene, you can have a friend read the other part with you, and find out, rewrite the words of the text how you would say them, and then play the scene. So
I love
you
it.
can understand the insides of what's going on, and then go back to the original text and see if you can, and see how that changes the scene for you, if it makes it feel more clear to you.
Yeah, and that works across art forms too, because I do that for acting all the time, but it also really helps for singing, to just take lyrics and make it in your own words, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So if people want to follow you, where should they follow you online? What's the best
Instagram, Brian Thomas Abraham actor. Instagram.
Perfect.
That's me. I'm not on Facebook, and that's where you'll find me.
Okay, perfect. Well, Brian Abraham, congrats on the new gig coming up. I'm so excited for you. And congrats on finding some peace with a weird career that we have.
I'm trying, man. We'll check back in a couple of years and see where we're at. We'll do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where they know
I love it. Yeah. Who knows what else I'll be up to by then too. Right? I'll be all the technologies you haven't even heard of, I'll be playing with those by that point. And you'll be on Broadway show 7.
There you go. Yeah, I'm famous YouTuber Jessica Payne. There you
go. We don't know. We have no idea over here. I look forward to the journey. Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I adore you, and I will see you later. Thank you for coming to Creators Cafe. Cheers.
My pleasure. Bye.
Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.